on to the matter in hand, where we have Alex and Greg, and they're going to take us through documentation as a superpower, which I'm really looking forward to. So over to you two, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sue. I'll start sharing my screen and having the presentation.
There we go.
Brilliant. We can see.
Perfect. Take the subtitles off. And there we go. So, okay. So today we prepare with Greg a presentation on documentation as a front-end development superpower and reusable components as development accelerators. And we know it's a long title, but there is a lot of value, I think, and we prepared a lot of demos. So you will see a lot of demos in this presentation. And we hope that you will see documentation a bit differently after this session. And we'll focus specifically on the documentation with an impact on front-end development. So we will start in today's agenda. We'll start to introduce ourselves, Greg and myself. Then we will kick off with some information around documentation and specifically why the documentation matters now more than ever and what are the benefits that it can bring. We will continue with documentation development and testing, how to manage scope and validation, so to ensure that we have a report that can go to production. And after that will be only demos around visual elements like bookmarks, visual calculations, and hopefully, if we have a bit of time, translytical task flows. And on Greg's side, he will showcase how to leverage themes, TMDL scripts, and Deneb templates. We have also a couple of minutes of Q&A at the end, but do not hesitate to ask your questions in the chat. And Sue, maybe you can ask the questions if you see there are questions as we present.
Yeah, will do.
I'll let Greg introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Greg Philps. I studied mechanical engineering at the University of Toronto and worked as a mechanical engineer for about 15 years. I then taught myself database programming and became accomplished in the Microsoft stack of BI tools, SQL Server Management Studio, SQL Server Analysis Services, and SQL Server Reporting Services. I worked as a BI consultant to many departments of the Canadian federal government for about 8 years before discovering Power BI. I then immersed myself in Power BI and have worked as an independent Power BI consultant to many departments of the Canadian federal government since then, so for about the last 7 years. I've been fortunate enough to be recognized as a Power BI expert by Enterprise DNA of New Zealand in June 2020. I was also recognized as a Deneb community expert by Daniel Marsh Patrick, the creator of Deneb, in January 2024.
Perfect.
That's me.
Thank you, Greg. And I am Alexandru, Alex Badiu. I'm an MVP since on Power BI since September 2025. Before that, I was Power BI super user on the Power BI and Fabric community. I'm also a consultant and early adopter of Power BI 10 years ago, the beginning in 2015. I was also recognized as a Power BI expert on the Enterprise DNA platform in November 2020. That's how I met Greg. And I'm the author of the online course Data Storytelling and User-Centered Design in Power BI on Enterprise DNA platform in 2022, and also the technical reviewer of the book that was released by Tim last year, and Andrea Pinilos, Tim Wenzelfeld, who is also tonight on the chat. And the book is called Power App Tips, Tricks, and Best Practices. Okay, so let's kickstart. Let's talk about documentation. And we know that documentation is not the most popular topic that we can see today. It is often, we often think when we talk about documentation about tasks that we are doing at the end of the project, tasks that are not very interesting, tasks that are usually not budgeted, and we think that these documents are never read by the end users or by the client, and therefore is an action that is not interesting to do. If you are working in Power BI as a Power BI Pro developer, you will know that documentation already is more important than that, because the reality is that on a project, we usually have a lot of changing requirements. We have endless revisions. We also inherit reports to optimize, and we see that those documents are undocumented. So we know the impact it has on productivity and also on trust, and also how to work with the end users alignment. Why we are talking about documentation today, and why is it important in general? As I said, documentation is seen as an overhead, but it's actually strategic discipline. And this skill is something that will be used also in the future, especially with the era of AI we are starting to see. So documentation is not about explaining what you did. It's also about providing the why and why your solution is right. So it's also a way to align with a client. It has already many advantages, like future-proof development. That means protecting your work against memory lapses or people who are changing the requirements that evolve. So keep on track with the eyes on the prize, know all the time where is the target, and make sure we have enough time to do those tasks with the right level of quality. It's also about the trust, on the status that you bring to the table. I'm in contact with a lot of Power BI developers who have 1, 2, 3 years of experience, and often they are put in a position where they are executants, right? You have to do this report that needs to look like this, etc. And this is because they do not have this leadership role, leadership status. And actually, documentation is a way of proposing things, of prototyping things, and aligning with the end client so that they trust you to create something that is better, right? Not only matrices like in Excel files, but something that it is right, that it has more impact visually. Then there's also an accelerator for development, because we use more and more components. We need to validate faster. We need to spend more time on tasks that are strategic, and the things that we already did 1, 2, 3 times before, we need to do it faster. And this is already, the trajectory of where Power BI is going in the future. And then we're talking also about this team scalability, because we need to enable collaboration. And as you said, Sue, in the beginning, with the presentation of the next sessions, Visual Studio Code and with GitHub has an important role on enabling this scalability. So in order to increase this collaboration, we also need to create things in a certain way, document in a certain way to enable and really harvest this collaboration. Also, documentation is the foundation of AI-powered development, because this is the framework we are starting to see more and more. We are starting with the requirements, the knowledge, the human contact for understanding the problem, and documenting everything with clear specifications, with a right plan, with decomposing the actions. And then we will have assistance agents that will help us execute actions that we can delegate and that we can validate, so that we can be sure that the work that we delegate has the right quality of work as we would have done it. So I think the future is not AI create a report for me. It will be more, I need you to do this specific task, and the human will be enhanced. It will be like an exoskeleton, let's say. It will always be the human, but with much more power. So this unlocks a lot of things, and I think, and this is maybe a hot take, I think planning, documentation, testing will be skills that will be very important in the future. So what it unlocks is faster development, single truth, a source of truth, few revisions, more confidence, and also elevated quality. Because with this kind of skills and assistance, we will always have the right maturity and the right actions that we need to do. So yeah, in terms of what it actually unlocks, 3 big topics. First is the single source of truth, because we want to document, and we know that we can document inside Power BI, which is the best way, the best place to document is directly in the source. Then we need to also document things that we cannot document the why inside the tool. So we also need to have this information in sync, and we need to make it in a clear way. AI will help us read documentation and will give a better output if they will know not only the technical part, but also the business justification. In terms of how Power BI is evolving today, we know that there's more request of creating visual reports that are close to web app experiences. That means that we need to create more visual elements like dynamic menus, like pop-ups. So that means bookmarks. That means also visual calculations. And we know that these elements are a bit more difficult to document. And in order to reduce the back and forth, because we know that bookmarks today are not that documented, and usually when we need to change something, we actually rebuild it from scratch. So this is time that is being lost. We need to reduce this back and forth, and documentation is the solution. And the end advantage is the client trust and satisfaction, because trust comes from creative, trust comes from understanding what we are doing, where we are going, and documentation is the point of truth that will allow having an alignment with the end client and knowing, predictable, knowing what will be delivered and when. So all these topics, everything is gravitating around documentation. I will let Greg continue with the documentation, with the development and testing.
Thank you very much. I'll just keep the screen open here. Oh, actually, I should share. Sorry about that.
So just before Greg starts, completely agree, Alex. Having the documentation to explain to AI the concept is it just becomes more and more important with everything that I hear.
Yes, I think it's very important, and I think we need to talk more and more about this. And you will see the demos and the impact it will have, practical impact on documentation today.
Mm-hmm.
Stepping back to my engineering career, you wouldn't think of building a building without documentation. You wouldn't think about altering a building without documentation. Power BI is no different. Anyhow, I have so much stuff that I could talk about documentation, but I tried to really condense it down to 2 things. 2 questions you ask are, what are we going to do? And how did we do? And finally, you get to the 3rd question, are we ready for deployment? That's really what your goal is when you're doing development. And for development, probably the single biggest area or category is scope and scope documentation. To answer the second question, how did we do? You need to do testing, and you need documentation of the testing to ensure that the scope is met. For documenting scope, scope documentation is an integral and strategic part of a project and provides many benefits. Reporting projects often fail because of poor scope management. Business owners and users tend to be overly optimistic and add too much scope and don't manage scope creep. Further, the project scope inevitably creeps also when they add new scope items without removing existing items. Finally, even when there's one-to-one changes, they impact the development effort and increase the project schedule, as time and costs have already been spent on them that will not be delivered. To effectively manage scope, be exhaustive in documenting every scope item. Maintain a full history of scope items in 3 categories: included, excluded, and deferred. For the included scope items, when new scope items are requested, their priority should be viewed alongside those of the existing scope items, and thus help adjust the specifically included, specifically excluded, and specifically deferred scope items appropriately. You want to ask the question, if you want me to do this new scope item, which of the existing scope items do you want me to not do? Also, you should ask the question, if you want me to do this new scope item, as well as all the existing ones, the project will take longer and will cost more, unless you're okay with degrading the quality of everything. For the excluded items, it's very important to list them as well. List all the scope items that will not be done in this iteration. For example, external users or multilingual, etc. For the deferred items, list all scope items that will be deferred until another release. And if a scope item has a workaround, seriously consider deferring it to a subsequent iteration. For all the scope items, they're append, do not edit. By stating all scope items specifically, expectation gaps between the developers and business users will be reduced or eliminated. Sorry, running 2 computers here. All right, reporting projects often fail due to inadequate testing, also commonly referred to as verification or validation. 3 of the main categories of inadequate testing are low coverage, only a subset of features are tested, and only for certain cases. Wrong resources, testers are developers and not business users. Select audiences, only for, say, internal users and not for external users. To improve the validation process, a standalone spreadsheet can be used to gain a better understanding. Let's take a look at an example for a fictitious invoicing system. Sorry, I just can't find my mouse here. There it is. Okay, here we have itemized and clarified the manual validation tests by preparing a table with columns for test group, the ID and name, a test, the ID, name, notes, priority, expected results, and tolerance or allowed variance. The procedure, the setup steps, the procedure steps, the actual results, and the teardown steps. Date, the date and time the test was performed and by whom, and the status, pass, fail, or deferred. Next, a short description of the results, the columns that are highlighted in yellow. The expected results are those determined from the source systems, i.e. those providing the data for the report before the test. The actual results are those determined from executing the test in the test system, i.e. the report itself. The variance is the difference between the expected results and the actual results. And when this is expressed as a percentage, it can be easily compared to a tolerance or allowed variance to determine the success or failure of the test. Finally, the date the test was conducted, the name of the person who conducted the test, and the status of the test must be recorded. A couple other notes. As mentioned before, acceptance testing should be conducted by persons different than the developers and will ideally be those responsible for ensuring the reports meet business acceptance criteria, i.e. the business users. For reports that serve multiple audiences, acceptance testing should be conducted using appropriate accounts and credentials for each target audience. For example, IT, administrators, internal users, external users, etc. That's it. Back to you, Alex.
Perfect. Are there any questions so far, Sue?
No, not as such. I think people are finding basically, having the time to test. Some customers don't want to necessarily pay you to do the full data validation, and some people are saying, it's good to actually allow time for testing. Of course it is, because you need to have that trust. So, and the spreadsheet looks really good. So there's a lot of people like the spreadsheet. And it's that, it's always that quandary, isn't it, as to how much time you want to test and validate, but and the documentation, you obviously want to give the documentation, but how much time and resources the customer's prepared to pay for it, to go as in depth as you want to.
Yes, I think there are some topics that are very important. Testing is one of them, because it is part of the trust, and it is very important for the end client to have confidence in the numbers and to see how it evolves and to anticipate any regression. And then documentation, it's a vast subject. That's why we are focusing only on the visuals today. There are many types of documentation.
I'll throw one more quick comment in. The two actually go hand in hand. People generally choose too much scope, and then they run out of time in a project and can't do the validation. I would strongly advise cutting the scope down, deferring some items to a later release, and doing the testing. Yeah, absolutely. Start small, get the basics correct with confidence, and then start to build. Yep.
Yeah, so now we are basically at the end of our slides, and we will go into the demos. So what we will see in the next 20 minutes is bookmark documentation, user journey, how to document also visual calculations, and translytical task flows, and maybe other ideas and other things that we'll find useful. So I will jump into my first Power BI, and I hope it's visible for you. Yeah. I will try to zoom in as much as I can, as often as I can. So in terms of bookmarks, we already use them. I think all of us use them, at least for maybe not every report, but as it's something that we are using quite often, especially if you want to create something visual with dynamic menus, or maybe we want to do a receipt filters or a specific behavior, and maybe we want to change the view of different types of graphs. It's very flexible, and it's highly used. But the problem with the bookmarks is that until now it was difficult to document. And I will give you an example. I have here multiple filters, multiple bookmarks, and I will choose the easiest one, which is receipt filters. Basically, what happens is that when I add a specific filter somewhere, when I click on receipt filters, it will receipt my view. So if I'm selecting female, for example, and I'm clicking on receipt filters, it will bring me back to the behavior I expected. And like that, I will reduce the number of clicks, of course. If I'm choosing North America and then female, it's much easier to click one button and come back. So this is a UX UI best practice. And in order to add it in Power BI, we add a bookmark. And I added here on the screen the selection and the bookmark, because they are related in the sense that when you are creating a bookmark, you can select some options. You can select all visuals and say, I want to keep all these visuals, all the data, or I can select a couple of visuals and impact only the behavior of some of the visuals. So in my case, I created the simplest bookmark that we can create, is to impact all the visuals we have on the screen and say we want the data, the display, the current page, and all the visuals. So it's quite simple, and I hope everyone is familiar with this. And I wanted to test something, and maybe Sue, you can answer. If I'm adding a new visual on the page, okay, I'm gonna rename it because it's a best practice. And now I'm hiding this visual, and I'm going to another bookmark. And now I want to go back to my initial filter. Will I see the visual or will it stay hidden? Be mindful that I didn't update it.
You didn't update it.
I didn't update it, but all my visuals are selected. All the data is selected. So in this case, what do you think? Do you think that we will see or not see the visual that I created and hidden in the first place?
Oh, I'm quite torn, actually. I would say, in theory, you should see it because although a bookmark collects, has that. The question I'm thinking is, when by adding that visual to the page, you're adding it to the page, you're not necessarily adding it to the bookmark. You haven't updated the bookmark. So I'm going to go with no. But I could be wrong. Go on, Anthony, what do you reckon?
I went too fast. and I clicked on the button. So
I hadn't finished. I was going to say it'll still be there because you haven't updated the bookmark.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it's a state. It's the state of play at that point in time.
Yeah.
Exactly. But this behavior, it's difficult to anticipate, even for very advanced developers, because there's no visual cue that says that this visual was created after the bookmark was created, right?
So when you click on the bookmark, will it still be there then?
If I'm on this page, I'm hiding this. I'm not updating my bookmark. I'm going to something else and I'm going back. It will appear once again. It will not remember that I actually want it to be hidden, even though if you are looking at the UI, you will see that all visuals is selected. If we inherit this report and we are doing some changes, it's not us who created this visual. So we don't see this action being done. We don't know that this visual was created after this bookmark was created, right? We don't have any visual cue like we can have on CI/CD when we are on the versioning on Power BI service, like something changed. We don't have that. What we don't have either is we don't know why this bookmark was created, why this visual was created. So we lack technical visibility because this doesn't help us that much. And we lack also justification, business justification that we need to document. So this is the first thing that I wanted to say, that sometimes it can be tricky only based on what we have on the UI of Power BI to know what we created. So it becomes easier to recreate the bookmark from scratch than updating it or slightly changing it.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't use bookmarks as much because of that complexity in using them, that you just think, well, is it going to be updated? Is it not going to be updated? And when you pass that over to another client, yeah.
If you have only a couple of bookmarks and we are naming them correctly and selection, it works. But if you have dozens, hundreds of bookmarks, it becomes a nightmare for maintenance. Yeah. But things changed. Things changed because we evolved from working with PBIX, and now we are working more and more with PBIP. And this changes quite a lot. Why? And I will show you how we see it in PBIP. I have here a screen image. So this is the structure of PBIP. So if we save the report under a PBIX file, we have only one file, Power BI. If we save it under PBIP, we will have a structure with a semantic model and with reporting. The semantic model will be in Tyndall, TMDL, which is in production, which is in GA, and we have also the reporting layer, which is in PBIR and in different smaller JSON files. And the structure is the following: we have bookmarks, bookmark JSON, pages name, visuals, and this information. So this is very helpful because if we are opening PBIP folder inside a Power BI, this is what we see. And I will do a trick that I learned from Christian. Can you see my screen now better? We see the Power Dataset report and the semantic model, as I said. If I open the report, under the definition, I will have the bookmarks, and you can see I have the bookmarks here. I have a GUID. It's good, but it's not awesome. I have the GUIDs, and I have the pages, and under the pages also I have another GUID, and under the pages I have the visuals. If I click around, and this is something that is very important to see, I know this is the element I'm searching for. So this one. So this one, if I'm looking at the code of the JSON, I can see that the display name is receipt filter. So this is something I'm interested in. And what is very interesting here to watch is this target visual names, because these target visual names indicate which actual visuals are impacted by that bookmark. So we already know things. And of course, this is not perfect because I can see that this visual, I have a GUID. So I need to go to the page, I need to find the page, and then I need to find the visual, and then I need to go to the 34 and then visual JSON, and then I see the details about this specific visual. I can see it's a cluster bar chart, and I can have the details. So we have much more information now. And when we have more information, and when we have a bit of help from AI, we can do some nice things. We have a button here on top, which is the toggle chat, that will open the Copilot AI. And when I click on it, I have this, ask about code. So it it has some information. So what I can say and what is great about Visual Studio Code is that I can add context so that they have some more information. So I know this is the page that contains the visuals that I can right click and say I want to add the folder to the chat. And I know this is the bookmark that I'm interested in. So what I need to do is to take a prompt that I tested and after analyzing the code and things that are important, and I can choose the Visual Copilot or any other LLM. I have also GitHub Pro, and I also have Open Router, which gives me access to all the models that exist. And it's actually not that expensive. I think I have an average of $2 per month. And what this allows me to do is to choose my Claude Sonnet 4.5, which I like. I'm adding this prompt, and when I'm clicking enter, what happens is that Claude will take this prompt and will take all the information from the JSON that I attached and will create the documentation for me. So if you're looking what I wrote here in terms of information, I am asking what is the bookmark name. It comes from bookmark display name. You know, this one. I want to have the parent group name. I want to know what are the visuals impacted. I want to map this grid with the actual name. I want to do a summarization of the things that we can see also in the UI. You know, it impacts all the data, all the information. I want to know all the filters. And this is the output. I know that the bookmarks is receipt filters. I know that it's not all actuals actually, because it's impacted by these visuals. I can see that there's a filter on 2023. I don't know if you already seen that I actually had a filter on the page actually here. So this is something that is very easy to overlook, you know, a filter on the page. So the LLM caught it, right? It knows that there's a condition on 2023. And I can see all the information and details for each actual visual. And this is great. I have all the technical documentation that is created for me using only one prompt. But there's a problem. Problem is that we don't have the business justification. And just to show you as an example, if I'm going back here and I'm going to another bookmark that I created, this one is more complicated. Only selected visuals, but I don't know which ones are selected. This is highlighted. There's a filter here. There's another filter on the page. And to make things even more interesting, if you're going to ribbon chart, you will see that I have this. I have this ribbon chart. So I'm going to focus specific. I still have ribbon chart, but if I'm going to cluster chart, okay, I have this cluster chart. I'm going to focus specific. Now I have the cluster chart. So why did I create this like that? How can we explain it technically that I created this? How can you document? How can you know only based on the technical aspect what I wanted to create from the business point of view? It's impossible. So the why is absolutely necessary to document. And what I did is to try to educate other developers to do this method. Go to Visual Studio Code. You need to add this prompt. You have to save this prompt. You have to add this. And then you have to document in another Markdown or Excel file the reasons. Why did you wanted to create this? Who accepted it? What are the other solutions that were tried? What problem was intended to solve? Was it part of a definition of done? All these details, we need to have them. And we need to have them in another file because we don't have the possibility to add them inside the tool. But I came with actually some ideas that I wanted to create on the community that they are not actually that popular, because I wanted to solve all the problems, like having a field for all the bookmarks where you can add your business justification directly in the tool. That means that you don't have separate documentations that you always need to keep in sync, and have everything in the tool, because that's the easiest way, the best place where you can document things. Things where you can purpose, business scenario, expected behavior, visual impact, scope, and other. And yeah, if you are interested on adding this kind of functionality, you can vote them on the community, because I don't think Microsoft will look at them if we have only a couple of likes. And I also created a second idea that is around visibility, because in Power BI you have this part. And this, it only works if you are using the UI. If you're looking in the PBIR, you will see that there's a property that shows this. It's called this hidden, but it's not dynamic. So potentially we can create in Power BI an FX, something that is based on binary, yes, true or false, that is based on DAX, that can make things dynamic, which will drastically reduce the use of bookmarks. So we could create navigation and all the UX UI that we have now in the reports, but without using bookmarks, or at least much less than today. So this is a second idea that I created. So what I wanted to do, and what I did, was I started to train other developers. Now we have to do these kind of things, add to the discussion, find the information, put the prompt, document things, create another file, put all this information. And I realized it's not scalable. It's not scalable for actually 3 reasons. The first reason is that there are too many steps that needs to be you need to follow, right? You need to remember to do all these steps. So I find myself creating a documentation about how you need to document, and then developers would document using a file, following a documentation about documentation. It was too much. It's not scalable. Then the second problem is that not everyone documents in the same way, right? One person will say on the business justification only 3 words, another will put 5 paragraphs. It's not, it's not scalable. And the third thing is that it doesn't work if you have another file that is separated than Power BI, that you always need to be in sync, because sometimes you can easily change a bookmark and then your documentation file is outdated. So you need to keep them in sync. And we know that we can use AI more and more. And we know that the output of LLMs is much stronger when you have also the impact, so the business justification and the technical part, because everything will be in one place, the output will be better, and then it will be much easier to identify which are the changes that you need to do and the impact it will have. So it needs to be in the tool, basically. And it's not possible to create in the UI. So I asked myself, is there a way maybe to document directly in the tool? And the idea is that, yes, it is possible with annotations. So I will search for my annotations. So annotations are something that exists only on the PBIR, and they exist on the visual page and the report level, and it can add some extra information. And in the documentation is being said that it can be utilized, as in a deployment script, so that the first page, the default page, is the page that you want to start in the report. But I found ways to do more than that. So I will show what I did. I created a Claude skill. I created a Claude skill where I basically wrote the instructions to create the documentation directly in the annotations of the report, and at the same time write the markdowns in the file so that it is easier for the end user, for the developer to read. And I will show you how it looks like. So this Claude skill, it will document not only all the technical part, but also the business justification. So you will ask, but how do you add the business justification? And this is in the skill, in the sense that I will have a skill. I will give it a prompt I want to document something. Let me search for the documentation. I have the prompt here. Hopefully it will work. So I have Claude Code directly in my tool. I will add all the information because they will know how to look for it. I'll click on my bookmark and I will ask for information. So what Claude will do is it will search in my instructions and will prompt questions for me directly in this interface. Will ask me what this bookmark is for, what is the business justification, who is it for, and all the questions that I wrote. So I don't need to remember what I need to document. It's basically a discussion that I will have with the tool, and when they will think they have all the informations based on the instructions I have in the skill. It will do the work. It will create the annotations directly in the PBIR. In the same time, it will create multiple markdowns of the file. So it's already right. It's already starting to document. And now he will start the interview. So you will see the questions that will start to write. Okay, and then I will need to look. Now I have questions about what is the primary business purpose. I have also some answers by default, to gain time, or I can put other and I say something else. Demo. Then target users, business analysts, filter logic, demo default, show high toggle, all this information. And then I submit, and now it will create the documentation for me. And I think I personally think that this experience is quite good, because now once I have the documentation, I can ask, I want to change this bookmark. What is the impact? And it will tell me, you have an impact on that visual or on that visuals. Are you sure? You need to validate with that person. So the more context you give them, the better it will document, and the better it will become an assistant, not only to output code, but to help you work better. Okay, so it can take a bit of time, so we don't have time to go A to Z, but you see the process and you see the output it creates. And I just want to show you fast how it looks like inside the tool, because on the report layer, in the report JSON, make this a bit smaller. We have these annotations. You see, all this was created automatically. So now the documentation exists inside the tool, and I also have this information, with all the overview, and then with specific documentation per bookmark created for me with all the technical part. I don't need to remember any prompt. I don't need to give too much instructions in the beginning. Everything is being done automatically. And because we are working in Visual Studio Code, I have Git, I have my branches. I can ask to do the commits with, and this is what I wanted to show you, the commits that, the message for commits that is automatically generated, all the bash code that is being done, all the merges that is being done automatically, and up to the GitHub. Everything is automatic or only on prompts that I can do here. Okay, So I spend a lot of time. I will take 5 extra minutes to show also the visual calculations, because the behavior is quite the same. But you understood the concept, I think.
Yes.
And it's the same for the visual calculations. The visual calculations, it's a bit better than Bookmarks, because you have DAX formulas, right? And when you have DAX formulas, you can add comments. So if you want to add business justification, we can add it here, probably, potentially. But I don't do it like that. I created a skill that is documented both visual calculations and bookmarks for me. So I don't need that anymore. Bookmarks are great, but the problem is that if you are having evaluate info view measures, you don't see them. You don't see the measures. They don't appear anywhere. They live in the visuals. So if you inherit a report with a lot of visuals, you don't know where your reports, where your visual calculations are, and you can't document them. But with Visual Studio Code, you can do a lot of things. So let me open just the visual calculation. Yeah, it's in the code, the visual calculations, and also with the chat, you can just ask some very easy questions. This on the side. You can ask, find everything that exists in terms of visual calculations. Let me search the prompt. Yeah, let me show you just a tip before. If you are here, if you're going to your settings, you can toggle on the option. This is a small tip. Okay. So here in the report settings, you have this option, report object, that you need to toggle on. It will allow you to click here and copy object name, and like that you know that this visual corresponds to this grid. So this is something that can be useful for you. But if not, you can, let me search for up. If not, you can only write this. So I'm going to the pages. I'm taking all the pages from this report. I'm adding the folder to chat. I'm saying scan all pages and identify which visuals contain visual calculations. It will find which visuals have this, and then I give them another prompt, and it will do all the documentation. So I just need to is it completed? So okay, I have the, how is it called? Sorry. I have this one, for example, and I just need to search for this one. I did a change somewhere, sorry. Okay, so I have this visual type, visual name, and I have this visual type. So I'm asking to create a documentation for one specific visual calculation, but it's the same for, it can be used in the same way to create the documentation for all the visual calculations. And what you can see now is everything being documented. You can see the DAX formulas, you can add descriptions, you can see dependencies, everything is being documented. But in the same way, you can use the skill and document it in a way directly in the annotations. So this is something I wanted to share, and yeah, I think I will not have time to go into the translytical task flows because there are a lot of things to show there as well. But just from the visual point of view, I just wanted to show you that now with translytical task flows, there are so many things that you can do, and documentation is really useful. And what you can see here is a complete simulation of a budget. Like you can do simulations. You can say that I want to create a 5% increase. You can add the justifications. And when you have all this information, you have a button that activates. You have a button that you click, an UDF that will take all this information, everything I simulated and tested, and all the advantages of Power BI. And I even have a pop-up saying you wrote 5% for Germany with a specific message. So you have also a return, a message that says, okay, what you added, what you launched, it worked. The data is now in the database. So this is an example, business example. Second example is UX UI, personalizing the user journey of each individual end user. And this is like a game. You can see here Fabric, streaming data, pipelines, monitoring warehouse, lakehouse. And now when I'm starting the game, I actually adding, completing a table saying that Alexandru is playing the game. He is in level 1. So once the UDF is working and the data is in the table, I can have a specific experience showing, okay, you are in level 1, you need to choose the information here. You can choose your avatar. Based on the avatar, you can gain some points, etc., etc. And maybe I'm in level 1, but maybe Greg is in level 3. I don't have access to level 3. So you can really control the user experience of the end users. And all this, how do you make it if you don't have a plan, you don't have a documentation, you don't explain what are the impacts of each click that you do? It's impossible. So yeah, I will stop here. I'll let Greg continue because he has a lot of things to share as well. But yeah, hopefully it was useful what I shared with you.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to just sort of discuss with you at some point, if we get a chance, to talk about how you set up the skills that enabled the prompting questions, which then gave the the answers that you need to create the template for the documentation. There was quite a bit of interest in this. And
it's very simple, and I can show you in the Q&A part. I will share my screen. I'll show exactly how I created the skill. It's very simple.
Brilliant. Okay, well let Greg carry on, and then if we can just have sort of 5-10 minutes at the end, I think the group would, and I know I certainly would appreciate understanding how you set that up.
Perfect. Okay, I'll share my screen and start going with the demo. Sorry. Where are we here? Okay, can you see Power BI now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. 3 of the things that I want to talk about are JSON themes, TMDL scripts, and Deneb templates. These help to build scalable, consistent frameworks that save time and elevate quality. Sorry, I should be on the presentation now, but anyway. First one I want to talk about is JSON themes. And JSON themes ensure a consistency by visually enforcing an identity across reports, specifying default formatting per visual type, specifying font styles, grid lines, label positions, and you can set multiple style presets at one time. JSON themes is generally underused. There are a few standard themes that are provided with Power BI. I'll select one of them, a different one here, and you'll see that the colors change. Now I'm going to flip over to my theme file, and at its very basic, a theme file is a text file, and the only thing that's required is a name. Now, so let's just change that. So I'm going to browse for themes, and I'm going to change the theme to that name. And Power BI has the default theme, so it set its default colors here. The next thing I'm going to do is apply a set of global colors. And again, I can open the text file, the JSON text file in Power BI, or sorry, in any text editor. And here I see some color definitions as well. When I go back to Power BI, and I select that theme, you'll see that the colors have been updated in the report. Now we'll go again to my next file here. We'll open it up in a text editor, and you'll see it is quite a bit longer. Sorry, just let me make this a bit bigger here. So it's 189 lines long, and it has a bunch of different sections in it, but essentially it's just a text file. So let's apply this to the report. Browse for themes. We select global attributes, and there we have the colors. All the text in all the visuals is set to a single text size and text font, and you can specify these by visual type. You can also set the background color for the report. You can also set the rounding for enclosing rectangles, the color in enclosing rectangles, etc. And let's do that one more time. Let's again browse for another theme. And this time we're going to choose to have text change to Verdana font and to have a dark gray background. And so there we have it. And now I'm going to prove that this is just a text file. I'm going to edit this particular JSON file. I'm going to save it as a new file. And this time I'm going to save it as D, I think. Or sorry. I must have clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry, E. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go down to, sorry. Change this to the name. Oops, I can't spell today. Sorry. And I'll go down to line 120. And I'm going to change the font size to something we can see, up to 18. For the title, I'm going to change the color to red. And that's it. When I save that, and that file is now here. When I go and select that file again, browse for themes, I choose the 1E that I just did, and we can see that the title, color, and size and font has changed, or sorry, the color and size have changed for all visuals. And you can always see which theme you're using by going down to customize current theme, and you'll look and you'll see the name of the theme right there. Moving on, I can do a couple of other things. The one that I wanted to show is I'm also able to completely change the report from a light theme to a dark theme simply by changing the theme file. And that's pretty much it for the themes. Again, this can be used across different reports. It's very easy to change, and this is simply a text file. So it can be easily edited by any editor. So, and you can use Visual Studio Code. I tend to use Notepad++, whatever. Okay, now we'll move on to TMDL scripts. Just give me a second to align things here. Okay. All right. So I have a file here. Let's bring up the data pane. You can see there's only one table in this report, the sales table. And if I go to the table view, you can see again there's only one, and it has a variety. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 columns. There are no other tables. Now, if I go to the TMDL view, I have a blank script ready for me. I go back to my TMDL file again. I open up in a text editor. I select the text that's there. I copy it back into Power BI and paste it. And now I apply it. And refresh. And with that script, we now have two tables in our database, a dates table, along with every column categorized into display folders. And if we go to, sorry, let me just bring this back down so I can see again. If I go to
love this, Greg. I love this TMDL thing that you can just pull the date in. It's just fabulous, and you've got all of your rules sorted and your sorting, and it's just wonderful.
Everything's sorted. Everything's in display folders as well. It works off of the any function. This one happens to be the Enterprise DNA Advanced Date Table by Melissa DeCorte. So she has a script to create a function. This function is created at the same time, and you can see that that's created in the thing, in the advanced editor, and then the dates table. It uses that function to create your dates table. So all you need to do is change your starting date, ending date, month of your fiscal year start, etc., and you're set to go. So if I go back here again, I can see that I now have whatever. Not only do I have all the columns of the date table, they're all sorted in there. We've also created two hierarchies as well, one for calendar year, one for fiscal year. And that's very easy to do. And you saw that whole process took like 10 seconds. I used to manually create my date tables in the same way. I use this every time now. And it's an incredible time saver. Let's see, what's the next one I'm going to do here? Okay, and something else that is commonly done is people like to have a last refresh table in their report to see when it was last updated. And again, I'm going to go over to TMDL view. I'm going to create a new blank page. And I'm going to come over and I'm going to edit my last refresh table in Notepad++. I'll Control C, Control V. And I'm going to apply the script and refresh the data. And now if I go back I can see I now have 3 tables in my report. The third one being a hidden last refresh table. I can see that if I come over here, there's basically just one line with the last refresh date time and a split for date only and a split time only. Let's do one more. Now I'm going to just create a key measures table. I'm of the, I know there's many different camps of people. I'm of the camp that you put all your measures in a measures table. So in any event, let's create a measures table. And again, I'm going to go to my TMDL script. I'm going to edit it in the text editor. I'm going to copy it, paste it, and now we apply it. Refresh. And we can come back to the report, and we can see we now have a key measures table with one measure, and then it's already designated as a measures table. There's a placeholder measure in it. Let's go back and start to create some other measures. And I'm going to come to the TMDL view once again. I'm going to create another empty script. I'll come to my measures file. I'll edit it in a text editor. Paste the code. And now I'll apply it. And I think this is all measures, so I don't think you need to refresh the data. But anyway, now I have not only 4 new measures here for total sales, total cost, total profit, margin percent. I also have 3 last refresh measures and 4 report administration measures. And those again were created in 15 seconds. Let's do one more just to show you the power of this. You're not limited to 15, or sorry, to a small number of measures. Let's go to my Unicar measures table, sorry, text file. We'll see, how long is this one? This is 2,700 lines long. So I'm going to select it all. And now paste it in here and apply it. And this time I do need to refresh it. And now we see we have a new table created with Unicode measures. This actually has 922 measures that were created, again, in about 15 seconds. They've all been categorized into, let me make it a little bit wider here. They've all been categorized into folders, and you can see that it's a massive number of measures that were created. There was no using DAX at all. It's all written into the TMDL file. And I have one more just to see the power of using this as well. Let's create another. Whoops, sorry, I lost my mouse. There we go. Okay. Let's come over here and we'll go to the DAX info view text file. We'll open that in Notepad++. We'll Control C and Control V that file. We'll apply it and refresh it. And come back to the display, and you'll see we have 4 new tables created for documenting. If I look at them in table view, the tables lists all the tables that are in the database. The columns lists all the columns of all the tables in the database. The measures lists all the measures. I mean, this stuff is standard from the info view functions. But one of the nice things is not only are all the tables created, but you can also easily create the relationships between the tables. So let me move this around so I can see it a bit better. Oops, sorry. All right. So those two tables, you can see the relationship has been created between, let's see, where is it? Sorry, I apologize. They keep changing places for me. I'm not sure where that is. I want to see the linked columns at the top, but I don't see them. Anyhow, so that's it from TMDL. Again, I'll just do one last thing. See the measure that was created. If I right-click on that and look at its properties, you can see it was a one-to-many relationship that's created. It's active and it has a single cross filter direction. You can change all those in your TMDL script. Third thing.
It's just brilliant, Greg. Sorry, it's just brilliant. We had David Hanna on here showing us a little bit about the info view and how to use TMDL. It's I hate to use the word, but TMDL really being able to just script in Notepad, and like you copied all of those sales. If your table was called something else, you can just do find and replace within the Notepad to really simply to change it. So
very much so. And honestly, there are hundreds, thousands of TMDL scripts floating around. To have standardization between your reports in an organization is unbelievably good. And having a TMDL script to, for example, create your date tables, all the same. It's very familiar when users move from one report to another. They know what to look for. I can't stress how beneficial this is.
Well, I remember when Melissa started doing her date table, and we were all completely transfixed with, she'd set up this amazing date table and function that we could all use, but of course we had to go in and sort it all. And whereas this just takes that pain away as well, together with the other things.
Yeah, everything's. And the other thing I didn't show on there, not only again, we don't need to mark things as a date table anymore, but it is marked as a date table. Column the set. So I mean, all the manual steps you used to do associated with the date table are simply applying a TMDL script now once. And I mean, there's, as you saw, every process is exactly the same. There's no chance to make a mistake.
Yeah. Have you got a GitHub like Alex, Greg?
Well, we share one, so all of this stuff is already on GitHub.
Lovely. I know what I'm going to be doing in the morning.
Greg, have you got the Unichart characters one on there as well?
Yeah.
Actually, I couldn't find it.
I'm sending you a heart, Greg.
I don't know that we posted those yet. I will post them.
Okay,
after
brilliant.
I don't think we have set them yet. Okay, so I'll just quickly go on to Deneb templates.
Yeah, not yet, but we started the series on TMDL, so we have.
We started the series. I don't think I've posted any code yet.
Yeah.
All right. So now we'll move on to the third item I wanted to show was the use of Deneb templates to make complicated visuals very easily. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and I want this one here. I'm going to delete the existing Deneb visual. I'm going to take a standard Power BI table. I'm going to copy it. And this is the point for me to start my work here. Let's just make the size a bit. Now that I have my table copied, I'm going to change the visual type to a Deneb visual. I already have my data set for it because it was in the table. And now it's a matter of choosing the template that I want to use. So it comes up and asks me for existing template. I click to browse for it. And this is, again, a text file, a JSON file. And here, because the field names don't match exactly, I'm selecting what I want for the category and value to be shown. And there's my visual. So I'm done. That's it. We'll move on to the next one. As well, you can do it for a bullet chart. We'll do the same thing that we did last time. I'm going to try and create this. So the first thing I'm going to do is delete the Deneb visual. I'm going to take the standard Power BI table. I'm going to copy and paste it. Sorry, this is not working very well. It's a bit laggy. And the steps again. Now I have my copy of my standard Power BI table. I change it to a Deneb visual. And then I edit the Deneb visual. And I choose an existing template. I click to browse and select the template that I want to use. This one happens to have field name matching. So I'll just create that, and there I go. I'm done. I think there was one thing I wanted to show here. Oh yeah, templates, sorry, Deneb templates may use Power BI colors. I have chosen to write this template such that it does use Power BI colors. So you can see if I change a theme to something else, you'll see that the colors will change for that theme. I'm going to set it back to, I think this is the one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now we'll do it a third time. For a heat map, again, I want to create this visual. I've got a standard Power BI table. I copy and paste it. You certainly don't need to copy and paste, but I've found it so much easier to see the data that I want to see in a standard Power BI table before I start. And now that I have my visual, my table, I'm going to change it to a Deneb visual. I'll then edit the Deneb visual. I'll apply a template, select a template to apply. And it has field name match, the field names in my data set match. So there we go. So I think you can see one of the nice things about this is we've done it 3 times and we've not done a single change.
Yes, and there's also the documentation part, which is directly in the code.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm blown away with that. I've been following you with, I learned Charticulator, so I spent a lot of time learning Charticulator and our visuals, but I haven't played with Deneb, and I was sort of put off a bit with Deneb because I learned Charticulator and then it was not used. But I love the way you start from the table so you can really understand your data. And then the simplicity of the visuals. Yes,
I cannot agree more. And if you want to take a look at this one, for example, a waterfall chart is a little more in-depth and so on. You have outlier columns for begin and end. You have double data labels with different fonts and different sizes. And you have a period variance bubble, if you will, in the middle. So that's something that you can't create easily in Power BI. I'm sure you can get close to it, but I think I tried, and I think it took me over 30 different steps to create in Power BI, and it still wasn't right. And again, let's count the number of steps that it takes me to do this in Deneb. So I won't start copying and pasting I won't count, sorry, copying and pasting the table, because you'd be doing that anyway.
Yeah.
So let's just make a placeholder here. So,
and it's all Deneb's all authenticated by Microsoft, isn't it? Now it's
certified visual, yes.
Yeah, certified visual.
It's free and it's certified.
No issues with refreshing or anything like that, or
no. So let's just count the number of steps here. So 1, I'm going to change the visual to Deneb. 2, edit. 3, select template. 4, map columns. 5, create. There we go. In 5 clicks, I have this visual. Okay.
Oh. And then, like Alex said, that all of the documentation is there because it's all nicely laid out exactly what it's doing for each element of the chart.
Yeah, if I edit here this template and so on, you can see that the code is, yes, it's JSON, but I use a language called Vega Lite, which is pretty easy to read. It's not difficult to understand. There are a transform section to change your data set and stuff. That takes a little bit to get familiar with the new terms. But outside of that, the screen parameter is in the parameters section. They call it params, whatever. And then you are concatenating a series of visuals. Here we have one for a waterfall chart, one for a legend. And you can see that the waterfall chart is there and legends here. But again, this is easily readable here.
Yeah.
And to Alex's point earlier, because it's text, AI can read it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can explain. And I just want to go back to something Aurora said. Aurora was asking about TMDL, and she said, is it like Visual Studio, VBA, where you want to be careful that it can inject different things? You know, there is sometimes you have to be careful with VBA, but TMDL it's really quite straightforward, isn't it? You can read it and you can see exactly what it's going to do, and pretty much the same with the Deneb. There's nothing complex in it. It shows you what you see is what you will get. There's nothing hidden behind it.
Exactly. The caution I would, the only caution I would give is don't use a Deneb template or a TMDL script that you've downloaded from the internet and expect it to work exactly as you want it. Take a look at it, understand it, and make the adjustments that are necessary for your organization or your purpose. And it's very easy to use. It's very easy to edit in any text editor, and you can adjust it to include the items that make sense for you, to eliminate the items that don't make sense to you.
And
then there are also ways to protect yourself, right? You have the preview where you can see what are the changes. You can use Visual Studio Code with Git and commit regularly, so that if there's a problem, you can come back. There's also the technique of scripting what you have before adding the new script, so that in case something goes wrong, you can go to the script that was the situation before the script and go back. So there are different ways. That's why Visual Studio Code is so good in the development of Power BI, because everything can be backed up. All the commits, all the comments, everything is useful.
And I think someone else mentioned in the chat about using, what's the difference between using the prompting that you used with a bit.bim file, using ChatGPT or something, as opposed to using AI with the PBIP, and the PBIP, it's just gives you so much more information on the different layers within the report. And when we get the PBIR as well, then that again will give us more report information. So
we already have. I mean, we have the MCP servers, right, on the TMDL part, which is in GA. The reporting side is not yet GA, and we don't have MCPs for that. But we can still work, because if we have a Claude skill that knows all the JSON structures, it has all the instructions, all the prompts that are pre-prepared, they can do the modifications on those JSON files directly. So they will not be, I mean, you'll not see your Power BI and your MCP in the same time and see your Power BI changing under your eyes, but the files, the JSON files, they can be modified directly by the by Claude, by the agent.
Yeah. So when you're saying about the skills, you mentioned about using OpenRouter, and is it OpenRouter you called it, which you said costs about $2 a month, and that allows you to change. Does that allow you to change from which LLM you're using then?
Yeah. So let me just share your screen just so that you can see. So the first thing that I wanted to show is how you go to the skills. So you have here the button, right? The name, then you go to settings. Click on settings, and then you click on capabilities. And then you have this part, which is skills, example skills. And you have one skill that is called skill creator. So this one needs to be on, because once you have it on, you can just exchange, discuss with Claude, and at a certain point when it has a lot of context in the discussion, say, okay, based on our discussion today, we spent, I know, half an hour discussing, I want to create a skill. Ask me the questions you need to create a mature skill. And then you will say, I want to export it and import it inside Claude. And then you have your skills. And just as an information, look the skills that I already created. Deneb Visual Builder, Power BI documentation, Power BI development style.
So this is the same as the GPTs that you use within ChatGPT. So you're basically training it on certain areas. And so a skill will be, you might be working with it to create your bookmark templates. And then what you're doing is you're saying, right, based on this conversation and the back and forth that we've had, ask me what you need to create a skill on bookmark, bookmark document.
It's much more than that, because it's accessible right away. It's like an agent that you create. Let me open the file, the README. So this is the skill that was created for me based on what I asked. So now this skill is invoked every time I'm writing a prompt, document my Power BI bookmark, or document my visual calculation, or audit my Power BI report, analyze my bookmark behavior. So these are triggers. I don't even need to know the name of this. And based on that, it will take all the structures. It will take examples. It will have prerequisites. It will take everything I taught this skill to be, to create the output that I desire, and not have just a general output based on their understanding of what is important to document or not. I am in control of what am I doing and what I'm asking to do.
So it's making me think of Obsidian, where you create sort of almost like a mind map of different things. And so so you've told it, when I ask about this, I want you to relate to the conversations we've had about this, and this, and what I've trained you. And then it's learned from the discussions that you've had. Yeah.
And it can be also related to MCP servers of Obsidian, so we can also write directly to Obsidian if you want. So it's really rich. And this is the open router that I said. And I'm not saying it costs $2 for you, but for me, in average, last month I paid $3. So basically, what happens is that you put an amount of money, like I know, $20, and then you can use inside your Visual Studio Code whatever code you want. So I can say that here I can choose that I want to use Mistral or GPT or Gemini, whatever.
And you've got paid
DeepSeek.
You've decided which versions because
yes. So I have like an amount, a credit that I can choose on which model I want, and it's not like I'm billed every month. I'm billed when I don't have any more any more amount to be spent. So I like for 3 months I'm still consuming this amount. And it's cost effective, right? Because you are just consuming, you pay what you consume and you choose which one to use, because every month there's one. Gemini is better than OpenAI is better than Claude Code is better than everything changes every day. So I don't, we can't, I at least don't afford to have, pay all these tools in the same time, but I want to use them. And based on my need, I can use ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or something else.
That's really, I didn't know that. I thought you had to buy for each. I thought you had to subscribe to each one. I didn't realize that you could subscribe to Open Router and then you could pick and choose which ones you want to use until. Oh. Well,
there we go. Sue's going down the next rabbit hole.
Gosh, so much to think about.
Well, that's really useful to know, Alex. Yeah, because I was also under the impression that you had to then get one for each, depending on which model you wanted to use. You had to get a subscription to, Chat or to Claude or to whoever. But having this option is really, really useful.
I have two. Like I have Claude Code because I'm using it all the time, and I'm using Claude Code directly in Visual Studio Code because you saw the prompts and everything. I think it's like a superior experience, and for all code I'm using Claude Code. But then I want also to have this open router because sometimes you need Gemini, you need the thinking of ChatGPT and other models that you need to test. So. So I have one billing every month, and then I have this open router for access and for curiosity because it changes so fast, and we need to try to follow.
So you pay for Claude coding, and that's your main thing that you use for the coding. But then you then have this open router where you can play. That's your play basically. Yeah.
And then in Visual Studio Code you can have like agents, but you can have ask. So sometimes I don't want to have something. I just want to plan or help, or I need some assistance to plan the actions that I need to do. That I will do it, not the AI, but I need the AI to help me organize these actions and the order of actions. So I might need other models.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, I think I'm quite tired now.
And we cut it down hugely. I only talked about two items in documentation. I think I had 15 in previous presentations. And so we could have gone on for hours more.
Yeah, we spend much more time on the demos, on the sharing of examples. But we had a lot more of. But if you want more documentation, we have all the blog posts.
We've put in the links to your GitHub several times, and we've been following you and what you've been doing.
Yeah, they're not like blogs that can be read in a couple of minutes. They are quite extensive, we know, but
But it is. I mean, like we were talking about before, being able to use Visual Studio Code with Git for the for the committing and the version control is
Yeah, and the messages, because you document, right? The way you're creating branches and doing commits, and then you're merging. It's a way of organizing content and documenting. And now with PBIP and PBIR plus the AI assistance, documentation becomes.
Well, this is what I didn't. I think Matthias pointed it out to me. He just said, well, you can have like a lots of issues, and then you can use the commit that then relates to that particular issue. So it's a really nice way to see the changes that you've made. I'm going to put in just for people, because I'm quite new to. I've been trying to play with Git and Visual Studio Code for years, but we are doing this branching, and part of it is we have the YouTube podcast that we do. But what I'm trying to do for my own learning is to just do little markdown posts of how I'm using it. So what's the difference between Git compared to GitHub, and how Visual Studio Code and Git talk to each other. So this is, if anyone's a bit daunted by Visual Studio Code and Git, I think it's beginning to be so much more useful as a source of version control, particularly when you start using AI and you start playing with things. So mine is basic level. It's quite a nice way to start.
There's nothing wrong with basic level. There's nothing wrong with basic level.
We all have to start somewhere, and Sue, yours is going to be intermediate level for me. So
I was using Visual Studio Code, with Git and GitHub mostly with code, but now I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just telling Claude, okay, now it's good. Commit this, add some more comments, merge this. Everything is good. It was looking fine. Now you're syncing it, and like I'm just typing what I want to do. And it does it for me. I don't need to put my code or even know the clicks inside Visual Studio Code to create new branches. And with skills, I don't even need to ask how it needs to be called. It becomes easy to use Visual Studio Code and Git.
I think it's like we said about the Tyndall scripts and the Deneb. I need to understand it before I can go to that level of automation. I need to understand how it works and what it's doing. And then once you've got that understanding, then I think you can start to I always get scared at asking AI to do things that I don't quite know what it's doing. So I like to know the basics, but it's, this was absolutely brilliant, you two. And I think from all of the discussions in the chat, it's just been, everyone's got something from everything. And I loved, Greg, just your simple spreadsheet on testing. I mean, that was just like...
That using a format that's accessible to everybody in the organization and easy to access and easy to read is really, really, really beneficial, because people will comment on it and say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, it's right there for you to look at all the time. You can comment on it anytime. So an Excel spreadsheet posted on SharePoint that everybody in the organization can access and is updated in real time is great.
Especially if they change the data on you and they go, it's not working.
Yes.
It was. What have you
done? That's why you put the date and time on it was. Well, yesterday it was working.
Yesterday it was working.
If it worked yesterday and fails today, something changed. What changed?
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. Is it one thing that's changed or everything that's changed? Yeah. It's one little thing. So, okay. So then it's the data rather than the process.
Yes. But I'm sure the validation spreadsheet is online on our GitHub already.
Yeah,
it is.
The Tyndall scripts, I don't think I've posted there yet, but we'll get those up.
No, there are it's the Deneb stuff is there. It's just the Tyndall scripts.
Yeah. All the Deneb I want to shout out to Alex as well. One of the hardest things about using Deneb is figuring out what to do, because literally you can do anything you want to, which makes it really hard to decide what to do. And Alex has been providing suggestions and has been very generous with dozens of iterations for each one. So while you might have seen that the templates look quite simple, they actually went through a whole lot of iterations to get there.
This is something.
There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of templates around that you can use as development accelerators, and with 4 or 5 clicks, you can incorporate them into your report. The other thing that's nice is that it works without libraries, so you can post it online, like with an R or a Python. Things, if you're using special libraries, it works on your desktop, but may not use when you're sharing it. With Deneb, everything is self-contained. So if it works on your desktop, it works when it's shared perfectly.
Yeah, brilliant. Because that's the thing with Python and R. Sometimes it can be slow. It works on your desktop, but maybe not the thing, not in the service. I'm not surprised he helped Greg, because he's OCD, Alex, with his visuals and what it looks like. And from doing your enterprise DNA, if anyone's got access to enterprise DNA, then both Greg and Alex's courses were just awesome. Storytelling to a different level.
Yeah, and I'll just jump on your comment from a couple of minutes ago about wanting to learn a bit more about Deneb. There is actually a course on Enterprise DNA's site that I wrote about 3 years ago, I think, an introduction to Deneb. So if you want to figure out what Deneb is, that is the thing to look at.
Yeah.
So if you're an Enterprise DNA member, go for it.
Yeah.
It's there. It's been there for years.
Yeah, and Alex's storytelling is there as well.
Yes.
Yeah. My little paginated reports is still there as well.
I did both of your courses. I was hoping to get a contract a couple of years ago, and I did both your courses, but unfortunately didn't pan out. But anyway, interesting point when I did them. SQL Server reporting services was the genesis of paginated reports. And paginated reports look exactly like SQL Server reporting services did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So the RDL file format's exactly the same.
All I could find was that, when I was trying to do something really bespoke and specific, it was all about databases rather than from Power BI. And I got so frustrated. And I remember talking to Brian, and Brian just said, well, will you do the course so that other people don't get as frustrated as you, because I love paginated reports, but also I could throw the computer out the window at times. Why don't you do that? Anyway, lovely people. We still got 20 people with us. Thank you very much for staying with us, people. I know it's been a long session, but I think you will all agree it's just been absolutely phenomenal in learning in so many different ways. I will make sure that this gets uploaded to YouTube in the morning. You've got access to everybody's GitHub. Do follow Greg and Alex on LinkedIn, because they're excellent at posting. And thank you both for sharing your knowledge and your time and your resources with the community and with us. And it's totally appreciated.
It's our honor to be here. Thank you very much for asking us.
Oh no, delighted.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's
delighted.
always a pleasure to come and to share, and I think many people are sharing so many great content. We try to share what we discover, but we also learn from what we see from others. Yeah. So that's the beauty of the community.
It is wholeheartedly. Right, I will let people go and have some food. Food and a cup of tea. But let me stop recording. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you're worth missing hot yoga.